for Iron Mike, TV interviews became impossible.
No, I'm talking about... No, I'm just trying to find... Yeah, well, trauma, everybody went through trauma as a kid. I'm not saying I was different than that. I'm just saying... the things we do to one another, okay? Hell, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just tired and confused right now. That's why I say I can't really... I can't say it the way I want to say it.
PBS Frontline exposed what the NFL kept in the dark for decades, the link between repeated blows to the head and long-term effects to former players. Many coaches have shown they simply do not care about their players via various drills taking place in practice at such a young age. One may posit soccer as an option. However, from past data on the dangers in the sport,
this new study looks at head trauma in high school sports. Boys football had the highest rate of concussion, 10 per every 10,000 practices or games. Girls soccer was second at a rate of 8 per 10,000.
To a recent report showing the lasting effects the beautiful game could have. For that, we turn to the country of Sweden. At the Karolinska Institute, they took a deep dive into elite soccer players, comparing the health records of 6,000 elite footballers and more than 56,000 non-footballers between 1924 and 2019. Peter Yuda, assistant professor at the Department of Medicine at the Karolinska Institute, served as their website calls it, principal investigator. We talk much about safety of the game, so this is important. The study showed that footballers had a 62% elevated risk of dementia compared with the control group. On the other hand, the risk for Parkinson's disease was 32% lower. ALS was too rare for the analysis to provide any reliable results. The study also showed that the footballers live slightly longer on average than other men. There was a previous study that came out of Scotland as well that suggested players were 3.5 times more likely to develop neurodegenerative disease. Following this evidence, certain footballing associations implemented measures to reduce heading in younger age groups and training settings, including the good old US of A. In 2015, litigation came forth aimed at addressing head injuries in the sport, including a policy that sets strict limits on youth players heading the ball. The proposed changes prohibit players aged 10 and younger from heading the ball and reducing headers in practice for those from the age of 11 to 13. The parents who brought the suit did not demand financial damages, rather simply change to the sport that could make an impact for the best. The Guardian's Anna Bowden would report of another study that followed Scotland's, which found that pro footballers are more likely to have worse brain health after the age of 65 than non-footballers, which brings us to this. The authors cautioned that although 9% of soccer players and 6% of controls were diagnosed with neurodegenerative disease during their study, most participants were still alive at the end of data collection, so the lifetime risks of developing neurodegenerative disease for both groups are likely to be higher. Yuda would also add, importantly, our findings suggest that goalkeepers don't have the same increased risk of neurodegenerative disease as outfield players. Goalkeepers rarely head the ball, unlike outfield players, but are exposed to similar environments and lifestyles during their football careers and perhaps also after retirement. Co-author of the study with Yuda is Bjorn Pasternak, senior researcher at the Department of Medicine. They did note exposures related to football could both increase and decrease risk of neurodegenerative disease. For example, an association between physical activity levels and a lower risk of dementia and Parkinson's disease has been observed in other studies. It could be that the risks of dementia are being somewhat offset by the footballers' higher levels of physical activity. Good physical fitness may also be the reason behind the lower risk of Parkinson's disease, Pasternak said. David Curtis, honorary professor of UCL Genetics Institute, told The Guardian, "It seems extremely plausible that repeatedly heading the ball during training and normal play produces brain damage, which over time can result in dementia. The fact that the risk to goalkeepers who rarely had the ball is not increased strengthens this hypothesis. If we assume that about 1 in 10 people would develop dementia anyway, then this means that about 1 in 20 professional footballers will develop dementia who would not otherwise have done so as a result of heading the ball. Dr. Richard Oakley, head of research at the Alzheimer's Society, would say, "We now urgently need more answers to determine what lies behind this link, why dementia would start to form, how the type of injury, frequency, and age at which head injuries occur may influence risk, and how we can accurately predict who is likely to go on to develop dementia after a traumatic brain injury. Sporting bodies need this clarity so they can put in place appropriate measures to protect players."